If you're learning AWS, there's a moment almost everyone reaches. You build something small, a personal website, a portfolio, a landing page. Then you ask a simple question: how do I actually put this online using AWS? And suddenly, AWS feels confusing again. Not because hosting a website is hard, but because AWS gives you so many ways to do the same thing. Today, I am going to walk you through the main AWS services you can use to deploy a website, what each one is good for, and when you should use it. No buzzwords, no over-engineering, just clarity. Before we name any service, understand this: AWS doesn't have just one way to host a website. It gives you building blocks, and you choose based on what kind of website you're building. So, the right service depends on one question: is your website simple, dynamic, or growing? Let's break this down. First up, Amazon S3, perfect for simple, static websites. If your website is just HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and images, with no login, no database, and no backend, then S3 is the simplest option. Think of S3 like a digital folder that lives on the internet. You upload your files, turn on static website hosting, and your site is live. People love S3 because it's simple, fast, cheap, and reliable. This is perfect for personal websites, portfolios, landing pages, and documentation sites. If you're new to AWS, S3 is usually the best place to start. Now, let's say your website needs more. Maybe you're running WordPress, you need a backend server, or you want full control over the environment. This is where Amazon EC2 comes in. EC2 is basically a computer in the cloud, just like your laptop, but online. You install a web server, your application, and all its dependencies, and you manage everything yourself. EC2 gives you total flexibility, but also total responsibility. You have to handle updates, security, scaling, and uptime. It's powerful, but remember, more control means more things to manage. What if you want an easier way to manage servers? That brings us to Elastic Beanstalk. It sits right between simple and complex. It's for people who want to deploy a web app without managing servers line by line. You just upload your application, and AWS handles the infrastructure. It still uses EC2 under the hood, but AWS manages things like load balancing, scaling, and monitoring for you. This is great for small teams, learning backend deployment, or projects that are starting to grow. You focus on the app, and AWS handles most of the setup. Next, if you're building with modern front-end frameworks like React, Vue, Angular, or Next.js, then AWS Amplify is built for you. Amplify connects directly to your Git repository. You push your code, and AWS automatically builds and deploys it. It also integrates easily with other services for authentication, APIs, and storage. For front-end developers, Amplify feels very natural and is one of the fastest ways to get modern web apps live on AWS. Feeling overwhelmed? Let's talk about AWS Lightsail. Lightsail is AWS trying to feel less like AWS. It gives you fixed, predictable pricing, a simple setup, and pre-configured stacks. You can easily deploy WordPress, simple apps, or small websites. Lightsail is fantastic if you want AWS reliability without the deep AWS complexity. Many beginners prefer it because it just feels more familiar. Finally, let's talk about CloudFront. This one's a bit different. CloudFront isn't where you host your site, but it's what makes your site faster. It's a content delivery network, or CDN. It caches your website in locations all around the world, so when a user visits your site, they load it from the location nearest to them. You almost always use CloudFront with other services like S3, EC2, or Amplify. If performance matters, CloudFront matters. So, which one should you use? Here's the simple rule. If you're hosting a basic, static site, start with S3. If you need backend logic, use EC2 for full control or Elastic Beanstalk for easier management. If you're building modern front-end apps, use Amplify. And if you just want simplicity and predictable pricing, try Lightsail. AWS isn't about choosing the fanciest service. It's about choosing the right level of complexity for your project. The mistake beginners make is starting with the most complex option. Start simple, and then grow when you need to. That's how professionals use AWS. If this video helped you understand AWS hosting a little better, please give it a like. And if you're learning AWS and want more clear explanations without the stress, make sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments, which AWS service do you want me to explain next? Thanks for watching.